Hey everyone, I'm James Jump, otherwise known as Tape Deck Reviews. Welcome back to another session of Artist Rundown, show where I bring on some artists, I ask them a series of questions, and we vibe for a bit. So today I have a very special guest, by one of the band members of Bobhowla. Have I said the name right?
You certainly have, yeah, that's right. Okay, I'm Howard Dupe. I am singer and guitarist for the band and chief songwriter as well.
Lovely stuff. So, how this works is it works a bit like a conversation and a Q&A at the same time. So, first question is, who is Bobhowla? Easiest one, I reckon.
Well, it's a bit of an interesting one, really. It was a monkey that I adopted for my own sort of kind of open mic ventures, which then kind of just naturally progressed to doing recordings and then recording sessions to expand and develop. So now it compromises of the whole band setup. So that's really what it is. It's the ideas of me in a full band format.
It must be like cool to actually have like all your ideas expressed by other people as well, so you can like bounce off each other.
It's been a really long journey, to be honest with you. It was always the aim to do that. And I suppose everyone that writes songs will say, you know, I don't think a lot of people want to go out on their own if they envisage having a band or having that band full of sound. That's what they want to do. But it just seemed really, really difficult to get a band together. And it was something that I'd wanted to do. And initially I put a load of effort into trying to source suitable people, but it never really took off. So, you know, for years and years, it was just a solo project. And then I'd say around 2004, for a few years, I had a drummer. So we were almost like the British White Stripes for a very brief period. And we did a few gigs like that and recorded a few demos and whatnot. But the band setup as it is at the moment only really came together after I went and recorded the first single, which was a double A side we put out last year. And on the back of recording that, it was a case of, right, I feel the time is now to really put the effort in to get a band so we can do decent gigs, because there's no point in recording this thing and it's like representative of a whole band sound, and then people turn up and it's just you on your own with an acoustic. They probably feel kind of cheated, like, where's the song? You know, this isn't what we've heard.
Where's the full band?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. So it seemed like the time was now or never to finally make a concerted effort and get the band together. So that's what I did, and luckily it kind of all fell into place. I originally knew the bassist, Graham Fletcher Hill, and he, funnily enough, on a sideline is a photographer as well. And a CD album that I put out on my own, going back, it's 11 years ago now, he shot the artwork for it. So I've known Graham for a long time, and I knew that he played bass, and he played in a handful of bands, and still dabbles with a couple of other groups as well on the side. And I just said to him, look, you know, do you reckon we can get a band together, and do you fancy playing bass? So it was through his contacts that John Brindle, our guitarist, came on board. And then our drummer was Al, that we had for a while. So it's all people who, you know, kind of, you put the feelers out and you hope for the best. And that's what we're about. So for the majority of the time, we've been a 4-piece and playing live in that format.
I was going to ask, the next question was, how did the band meet? But that's been answered for me. So I'm going to switch that question to, what is the name, Bobhowla? Where's it come from? Because I've never heard anything before.
That's an interesting one. It all came back to when I first was writing tunes and looking at playing live. Obviously, I was looking for a name to perform under. And I was very much influenced by people like Badly Drawn Boy, who go and find, you know, a title, a artist name to play under. And I was always drawn to that sort of element, and trying to come up with something was just an absolute nightmare. And funnily enough, I just happened to be in the company of a friend one evening, and his wife was from Birmingham, and she started to, like, rapidly, frantically flapping in the air, saying, there's a Bobhowla, there's a Bobhowla. And I was like, what are you on about? And it's a regional dialect name from that part of the country for a moth.
Well, you know.
And as soon as she said it, I was like, because obviously I turned to my friend and said, what the hell is she doing? And he said, it's a moth like that. There's a moth flying around. And I thought, I'm having it. You know, it was kind of like a light switch moment. I thought, I'm having that name. And subsequently, I've had a look into it, and I think a Bobhowla, as Brummies would say it, is spelt ER on the end rather than the A. And I just kind of switched out and shoved an A on the end of it. Yeah. And as well, if you look at it, it's like Bob. So, you know, I did get a lot of people thinking I was called Bob. And then a howler, the LA at the end is like a nod to the Lars, isn't it? It's a nod to Liverpool music of the past. So that's the way I took it. And just what you alluded to as well, I'd never heard of it before anywhere. So I always think that's really important, trying to get something that hasn't been used before and that's, you know, easily identifiable. And when people either see the name or hear of the name, it makes them think of one thing, and that's the music. You know, it's not like linked to a product, or it wasn't some like builder's firm or some fella who's a roofer. You know what I mean? It's getting something that's unique to the music, and it also helps with trying to secure domain names as well.
Like I was about to say, and that's actually been one of the most interesting stories I've heard for band names. It's so unexpected from your friend's girlfriend's moth incident.
That's it.
It's just something you wouldn't come up
wife,
with.
Actually.
Wife,
it was
sorry,
his wife.
that's me there.
I know.
So, moving on from the name, I want to get into your music because you've released a few tracks, and one what I absolutely loved was Midnight Fears.
Cheers, thank you very much.
What was how did you come up with that? Was there any reason behind it? Any meaning?
Well, it started off as a little sort of acoustic little ditty that just had like this 4-chord sequence that just went round and round in a circle, and the song came out of that. And the concept behind it is that I was drawn to, you know, like imagery sometimes that you get in. There's lots of imagery in my music, particularly in the lyrics, and you know that image when you get sometimes in films where kind of someone's asleep and they have like the dream whilst they're asleep, and like the whole kind of personality changes, or they go into a different world whilst they're dreaming.
Yeah,
it was something along the lines along that, and kind of imagining a conversation between two people and them not really having an open, heartfelt conversation, because whatever their relationship is, they just can't get there to that point. But then when one of them falls asleep, the truth kind of spills out of them in this subconscious way, and that in that moment, the real person is kind of divulged, and along with that, the real sorts of hopes and dreams and fears. So the idea is the person who's talking to them, they're talking to their midnight fears, because it's only in the midnight, you know, in the darkness of night when they're asleep, that the fears are coming out. They're letting that guard down.
That's actually added a bit to that song now. Got a little bit of knowledge for it.
It's a very, I couldn't even tell you where on earth I got the whole idea from. It's just one of those things.
Like an artist moment.
Yeah. I do think when you're a songwriter, I just try and grab ideas and inspirations from anywhere, and, you know, try and make a mental note of them, try and write stuff down, and then sometimes it turns into something and sometimes it doesn't. But I just think if you're not kind of in like a magpie mode and out there to capture everything, then, you know, you'll lose ideas.
Best thing to do, magpie syndrome.
Yeah.
So, best moment in your in the band's career so far, or even just for you, what's been the best?
Well, I suppose I've got to say this because it's so fresh. You know, yesterday we made the announcement, or shall I say, 9x9 Records made the announcement that they're going to put our debut album out for us in the new year. So, you know, signing an album deal with the record label, it's got to be up there with major achievements so far.
The amount of excitement must be like going for you right now that you've actually it's getting released 21st of February, isn't it?
It's the 5th, mate. 5th of Feb.
5th. Then I got the 21st from.
I think they're putting out another release on the 21st, maybe. So that could be another release date for the label.
Be good for them to see. So next question is I ask everyone this. What's some advice you'd give to a newer band or a newer singer just starting out?
Oh, well, it's a strange one. I don't know how useful my advice would be, because I'm very kind of acutely aware at my mature age. This is something that I've been kind of peddling around for years and years and years, and making very slow sorts of steady gains. I'm certainly not one of those artists who's, you know, started a band within 6 months has got their first album or single out and has gained momentum within like a 12-month period. You know, I've been playing live, doing solo gigs for, you're talking 15 plus years now. So it's been a long time coming. So my advice, I suppose the only advice I can give in that things are starting to move forward now is to just never give up. You know, perseverance is number one. And for another example of that, a story that always sticks in my mind is the band Elbow. I think they were signed and dropped twice before they found their final home with their third record label, and that's when they got their debut album released through them. So, you know, they stuck with perseverance, but obviously that was in a far smaller time frame than I've been working with. I don't know. It's you know, writing songs and the music was always something that I've wanted to do and I've always done. And it's just a case of I've just been plugging along at it because it's what I do. And, you know, it's not as if I've been chasing success or chasing a career out of it. I've just been doing it because it's what I do. And it's nice that it's slowly starting to get some recognition, and the momentum has really built up in the last 12 to 18 months. So really, you know, just stick at it.
I think that's the best advice you give someone. Just stick at it, practice. But going back to what you said before, Debbie Harris, who's Blondie, she didn't actually become famous until she was around 35, 40, I think. So
Oh, right, okay. Oh, I
stick
didn't
at
know
it,
that.
perseverance. So
Yeah,
it's always good to.
It's good to have them stories, isn't
Yeah.
it? To I don't think you're ever too old. I think in this,
No, definitely not.
you know, there's music coming out of people of all ages, of all genres, and you know that kind of. Even though you still have that element in popular music of its young, excitable artists and musicians that appeal to that demographic as well. You know, you're going to have people up through all walks of life. You know, look at someone like C6 Steve. He must have been, I'd say, in his 50s when he started his career, when he became when he made his breakthrough. So, you know, it does happen. It does happen.
Music's everything. It's all genders, age, ethnicity. That's the beauty of it, I reckon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true. Very true, James.
Right. So moving on, I'm going to do a short segment about gigs. Right.
Mm.
So starting off, where's your dream place to perform live?
Well, one of the places that I really enjoy playing live at, even though I haven't done for some time, but definitely in the noughties, I played there, you know, fairly regularly, was the Zanzibar on Seal Street.
Oh, the Zanzibar's great.
And yeah, it's such a great venue. And Tony, you know, who sadly passed away, he ran a real kind of, you know, gem in the music landscape of the city with the Zanzibar. I know he was sometimes quite old school in his approach, and he could be a divisive character. And I know he peeved a lot of people off, but I always warmed to his character completely. And you know, for example, there'd be times when you were trying to promote a show that you were doing, and maybe you'd go down to see him to pick up tickets, or to, you know, to double check on things like sound check times and stuff like that. And I always knew when I walked past the venue, if the padlock was off, you knew that Tony was in. So you could either knock on the door and, you know, expect maybe you could grab him for a quick chat. But, you know, 9 times out of 10, that quick chat turned into being welcomed in, and he'd put the kettle on and make you brew. And the next thing you knew, an hour had gone, and you'd just been, you know, chewing the fat and, you know, putting the worlds to rights. So I always had a lot of time, a lot of respect for Tony, and I think he did you know, wonders for the music scene and culture within the city for a long time.
Sadly, it's recently closed.
I know. It's gutting really, because obviously when it was taken over, it had a new lease of life, and over 2 lads that were running it really were putting in the effort to make it work. And it's a shame that it's kind of fallen so quickly after that transition.
Let's move on. I feel like a new venue's gonna come, like rise from the ashes like a phoenix. So there's always room for more venues.
Well, definitely, and the fact that venues are kind of dropping by the wayside, and surely that just creates more of a void for newer venues to fill. But let's not forget the ones that are still going. And
Mm,
hopefully, when we all get back to some sort of live normality, those venues will be thriving, and those are the ones that will need supporting.
definitely. That actually segues perfect to the next question. Do you have plans to tour after everything with all lockdown restrictions? Do you have any plans to play live?
Well, we'd love to play more gigs and play further afield as well. Predominantly, we've always focused our attention in the northwest, but obviously with an album on the horizon, looking to tour that and to play further afield is definitely the main goal. We will be doing an album launch, but God knows when that's going to be. And we were looking at doing something coinciding something along the release date of the album, but I really don't think that's going to happen. I really can't see it happening in the current climate, and especially when with this kind of Christmas COVID let up that we're going to have. They're already saying the repercussions are going to mean further lockdowns in January. So they're talking about how having things back up and running for February. You just can't see it, can you?
No, I don't think it's possible. Plus, I'm kind of praying for it because my birthday's in February, so I'm like, please, I turn 18, please.
Oh no!
Bad one.
Oh, gutted for you. Gutted for you.
But moving on from that, is anyone you want to collab with, like in the music industry in general? They could be like really famous, like Paul McCartney or Oasis, well, former Oasis, or it could be just local artists.
Oh, it's not something I've really given much time or thought to really. I suppose it'd be nice to work with anyone who I thought had kind of like similar leanings and like a musical compass to myself. So I'd definitely be up to working alongside people. And I think collaborating with people is when sometimes the best ideas flow, and that's certainly something that I've learned in the process of recording the album. Working with different people definitely brings out the best and definitely brings new ideas into the mix. So no one in particular, but yeah, I'd love to work with other people for sure.
Definitely. So the new album,
Mm.
you can't speak much about that, I'm guessing, but I do have a few questions.
Yeah,
How
of
many
course I'll answer what I
songs?
can.
Oh, nice, nice. How many songs will be on the album, and what songs are you excited for people to see?
Okay, well, it's an 11-track album, and obviously the three songs that are out in the big wide world are going to be featured on it.
Good, good.
And then we're looking at putting another single out probably late January time, just before the album comes out. So I'm excited for people to hear that one. There's a couple of new songs on there that are ones that we haven't played live before, and some of them are going in a bit of a new direction for us. I think it'll be quite surprising to people who've been listening to our music or have seen me live over the years, and kind of possibly have some sort of ideas to what the album's going to sound like. I think a few tracks are going to be real curveballs for them, so I'm interested in people's perception of that, really. And what kind of heightens that for me is the fact that yourself saying that you like Midnight Fears, that in itself is quite a different track for what I've done before, and the fact that you like that so much is really kind of quite invigorating for me as a songwriter. You get a buzz off that, knowing that people like something new and something different, because it shows that you're moving in the right direction, I think.
It's great because it's full steam ahead for Bobhowla. It's full steam. Got it all going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Look, I'm looking
hopefully.
forward. I'm looking forward to see what else gets released with the album. But that's the end of the Q&A. So I'll be linking everything in the bio and everything. Is there anything you want to say to anyone who's watching?
Not really. Just other than the album got announced yesterday. If you go over to 9x9records.co.uk, you can see the album there, and you can also pre-order it as well. It is going to be on limited coloured vinyl, so it might be a case of grab one whilst you can.
I saw it on blue vinyl. I'm definitely grabbing that soon. Anyway, I've been James Jump. Before we go, don't forget to like, subscribe. Make sure you'll come back for the next episode. All right, see you on the next episode. Bye.